Niners wrapped up the season at the facility, the last media availability. And, of course, they kind of stirred up the fires again. It's not going away anytime soon. Did they know the overtime rules? Now you got some infighting with some players. Now you got family members speaking on behalf of some players. This is the kind of thing that you got to extinguish because it won't get any better as you go into the offseason. Remember when Monty Williams, the former coach of the Phoenix Suns, and DeAndre Ayton, they had a falling out at the end of one season, and then we thought, okay, they'll mend that relationship. They didn't even talk over the offseason. And then, of course, they went their separate ways. This is what, the Niners and John Lynch, the GM, you got to make sure you get everybody together and or at least try to get people together. The offensive linemen are pointing fingers at each other. Brandon Ayuk's got somebody in the family tree who's upset. His girlfriend's involved in this now. The Cowboys had this with Micah Parsons, with CD Lamb, Dak Prescott. Moms are involved. Girlfriends are involved. Social media. And that's what you have going on with the 49ers right now. The Chiefs have their parade today, and Shaq got his jersey retired by the Orlando Magic last night. All right, Seton, what's the poll question we're going to go with, at least the first hour of the program?
If you were the Chiefs, Dan, would you make a competitive offer to keep Chris Jones, or would you let him go?
Well, what's competitive? Because if I'm Chris Jones, I had to suppress my ego and take your one-year deal, and then I went out and proved once again I'm one of the more impactful defensive players in the sport. Are you going to pay me Aaron Donald money? Are you going to pay me Nick Bosa money? Nick Bosa is the highest paid defensive player, and if you're Chris Jones, he's looking at the other sidelines going, that guy's making more than I am, and I am impacting this game. Yes,
especially when you're watching Nick Bosa in some of those highlights where he's running the wrong way of Patrick Mahomes, who's cutting up the field for 15 yards. You're like,
But we saw this with Tyreek Hill, although they traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. They didn't want to pay him $30 million. But with Chris Jones, his value there, it feels like Patrick Mahomes can make up for some blemishes on offense. It's hard to make up for the loss of Chris Jones on defense. And that defense turned out to be the reason why they won this Super Bowl. But am I going to pay $30 million? I think he's 28 years of age. But if you're Chris Jones...
29.
29? Yeah. You're right there with the Hall of Fame career. You're probably already there. With 3 Super Bowls, you've been impactful in all of those games. And do you want to go get the bag? And that's probably what's going to happen. The Commanders or somebody like that will go, here you go. We're going to pay you that kind of money. You got to go to some place that's got cap room there. Is he going to give a home discount? Which the only report I saw was that was not going to happen. That he's going to say, hey, you want me to take less? I gave you more, and you want me to take less so I can stay here in Kansas City. If he hadn't won a Super Bowl, then I understand, okay, I'll take less. I want to be part of something special. I don't know if he says, you know what, I still want to be part of something special. Maybe we get a three-peat. Then I'll have 4 Super Bowls. Then it's undeniable I'm a Hall of Famer. But I think the Chiefs have a couple of decisions to make here. And I don't know if Patrick Mahomes restructures a deal here, give you more salary cap room. Mark Sanchez, former quarterback, Fox analyst, will join us. We'll talk about that coming up. Yes, Seton.
How much do you think the possibility of a three-peat weighs in on a decision like this? It's probably not the same for every player, but it is pretty unique to do. It feels like a quarterback wears that more than any other player, but
I would say this wouldn't impact Chris Jones. If you're Patrick Mahomes, it would. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. It feels like we judge offensive players more so for Super Bowl wins than we do defensive players. But Chris Jones is probably a Hall of Famer. And he's been living in the shadow of Aaron Donald, not any longer. But I would think that he's going to be asking for $25 to $30 million. What's he make now? Yeah, Pauline.
Chris Jones has made $90 million in his career, most of it in the past 3 seasons, $21 million, $23 million, $22 million, but he's a true free agent. He's made $90 million in 8 seasons, so he's been relatively a bargain. He's also first team All-Pro the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, you might get a 3-year, $90 million. He may make 90 over the next 3 years here. But he's an impactful player. And, you can't trade him. It's like Tyreek Hill. They were like, we're not going to pay you. I mean, it was a great deal for Kansas City because they got, a first-round draft pick, maybe a second, and then a couple, like a fourth and a sixth for Tyreek Hill.
It was one of those ones where like the tier just keeps going. It's like we got a first, a second, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, and 3 sixths.
Yeah.
So, oh, my God.
And you didn't have to pay him $30 million, and you've won 2 Super Bowls without him. Chris Jones, I think it'd be it's strange going to sound. It's tougher. It'd be tougher to win a Super Bowl without Chris Jones than Tyreek Hill. Right?
That's scalding.
Yeah, but it is. It would be tougher because Chris Jones he's more impactful, I think, just because you need him on the defense. They have weapons on offense, and you have Patrick Mahomes to clean up, spill in aisle 6. So, all right, what other poll questions do we have today?
Well, we have part 2 of that poll question.
Okay.
If you were Chris Jones, ... would you take the biggest contract offer, or would you take less to stay with the Chiefs?
I would take the biggest contract offer. You've already got your Hall of Fame career. Now it's about setting yourself up for the rest of your life. So I would, as much as I would love to be part of something special, you already have been part of something special. The three-peat is the reason why you're going to stay. Okay. Yeah, Marv.
How much less would you be willing to take? Now, if it's like $2 or $3 million, all right. But if it's half of it, there's no amount of Super Bowl. You can't sell the Super Bowl rings for what I could have made somewhere else.
He's got to be looking for $30 million a year. He's got to look at T.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Nick Bosa, and say, I should be getting that. And I certainly understand him asking that. And this is it. 29, 30, 31. This is it. Now, he's probably going to want 4 years, even though, I'd look at 3-year window there. Yes, Paulie.
I'll throw out a number just for the sake of argument. Let's say the Washington Commanders offer Chris Jones 4 years, $120 million guaranteed. And the Chiefs offer 4 years, $100 million guaranteed. So you're taking a $20 million haircut. Which would you guys take?
I'd take the money.
Over the relevancy of the Chiefs and the competitive chance to play.
He's been relevant.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it felt like there was acrimony in the offseason when he was trying to get paid, wasn't going to get paid. And it was almost like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Like, hey, you want to seek a trade? You can seek a trade. And then all of a sudden, they eventually re-signed him and he won the MVP. Chris Jones, he has to walk back and go, okay, I'll take the deal. And then he could have been the Super Bowl MVP when you think about it. I mean, he's impactful. And the plays that he makes, he's a big-time situational guy. He makes plays when you need him to. He's every bit what Mahomes is on defense. I'm going to make a play that, and certainly the last 2 years, I'm making a big play at a big moment. I just don't know what Kansas City has to offer him, and do they have to restructure deals to be able to get him in? And do you say, hey, how about staying here, a hometown discount, Chris? Come on in. Yeah, Paulie?
I'm going to give you an example of someone who was in this Chris Jones situation a few years ago. Remember Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, the great safety? Mm-hmm. He was a Chief for 3 years, went to a couple Super Bowls with them, and then he took a little bit more to go to the New Orleans Saints. I wonder if he regrets that decision because he's much less relevant in the NFL now, Tyrann Mathieu. Still a good player, but he's not relevant. And if he stayed with the Chiefs for a couple bucks less, he would have been.
Yeah, but I don't think he's been, the kind of player that maybe he was with Kansas City.
Correct.
I mean, that's what you're kind of basing this on, that how good do we think you're going to be if you leave here?